Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast. Emma's Universe Podcast. Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
StudioStargazer.org.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. It's I have to share a story because I don't think people realize how much energy everyone withhold. Especially when we're in a good mood, we can feel energies, and for people who are like empath and others who can feel energy, not only empath but everybody else is as well. Uh, we talk about when we're talking about energy, it could be a ball of energy, it could be a dagger, or a ball of fire, and we're the one who's creating those. And sometimes some interaction when people are bottling those energy, they come out like bullets flying left and right in your face, exploding in your face. You don't even know where it's coming from. So I'm going to share a little story that just happened to me, and it was quite mind blowing from this individual. So I was in a place where I was waiting for people to arrive, and I saw one person arriving, and she was sitting in her truck. And it's quite interesting, people's habit actually. So she opened the door, and I believe had a cup of coffee, and just dumped the coffee on the ground. So you're like, okay, well, her monkey or, you know, her business. Who cares? And I approach her and I say hello, assuming she was one person when she wasn't, thank God, at some level, but still. And I started to engage and talk to her. And that person did not look in a freaking good mood. From far away, I could see the negativity, that huge bubble of negativity. And I was mid-sentence when that person turned around and rudely said something to me. But in the same time, the energy that got out of her and went into my face was like, holy crap. So I'm like, okay, that is not what we want. You get two options. One, you can explode it as well and get started, or you just walked off and just like, what the heck just happened here? And it happened, and I went back and I sat down for a few minutes, and I'm like, wow, I'm stunned by the situation. I don't know who that person is, because obviously she did not introduce herself, but her rudeness was unbelievable. But the energy that was coming out of her was pretty dark. And somebody showed up about I don't know, half an hour later. So I approached that person. That was the person I needed to talk to, actually. And I did share as well how, the welcoming committee. The other one did, not to me, mention to the organizer, actually, her interaction and how rude she was to me. But I found it quite interesting is two things. Being accountable for your actions, and two, watch your energies. Be accountable for your actions means when you're in the wrong, you need to be man or woman enough or child enough to recognize that and approach the person for whatever wrong you did and make it right. Meaning, have an apology and approach the person and said, oh, I'm sorry, I should not. And I apologize, I was rude to you. And that happens to me. I'm going to share something afterwards, because I always put myself accountable for every single crap I have done. And I'm not perfect, and I'm not on a pedestal. So I am not on a pedestal, and don't even dare put me on it, okay? Because I remember somebody saying, it's better to be on the ground than on a pedestal, because the fall hurt. So I'm going to change a little bit of subject and give you the example. I was working for a company way long time ago, make it a decade ago. Yeah, it's a decade ago. And I was 200 miles an hour on the things I was doing. And one individual, I wasn't a huge fan of this individual because he was more a sneaky Pete in his own way. And I'm very cautious of people who are two-faces, and you never know which way the wind's gonna blow, and one day they're gonna love you and the next day they're gonna backstab you. So I've always been cautious, but that day everything was running left, right, middle, and center. And he asked me for something, and the way I responded, because I was full speed, and when I'm full speed, so is my voice. If I'm calm, I am calm, and the voice is calm. If I am 200 miles an hour, my voice is 200 miles an hour. So I realized very quickly, actually, that I did not answer very well. So I approached him 5 minutes later when I realized that, and I said, I apologize. I didn't want it to be rude to you. It wasn't meant to be rude to you. I'm sorry. I was super busy. My apology wasn't meant to be happening this way. But I knew what he would do at the end of the day. And guess what he did? Went back to the manager, because we had a manager. And the manager thought she knew better. And I kind of cut the grass underneath her feet, because she was always trying to poke at the bear for some unknown reason. But she had a conversation with me and approached me and had to try to scold me about the situation, when I looked at her with a smile and I said, you know what? I went back and already apologized to him on the spot 10-15 minutes later. Would you like me to we go over there and double check if I did not apologize to him? And she looked kind of stunned and had to stop her lecturing. Again, being accountable for your freaking actions. So this individual, after I saw the organizer, back to what happened to me not even an hour ago. Yeah, make it about, an hour ago, actually. Funny how life turns. Happy Monday, people. So I went back to the organizer when she arrived half an hour later, and I took her aside and I said, okay, here's what happened. One of the individual that came here, I said I approached her. I didn't know who she was, and she was rude to me. I said my issue is not only being rude, but the energy she pulled in was pretty bad, and that was very negative. And I could see in her aura because her aura is dark. And whatever is going on in our lives, and I've seen it when I was working in retail. I have seen it quite often. People who are angry and they don't know how to release their energy, they're going to go to places and lunch after people. It could be their own family, or it could be a clerk at the grocery store who has done nothing. And I've seen it and witnessed it so many times. But this one took me by surprise again. But the most interesting part of it is the organizer profusely apologized on her behalf. And I'm like, sure. But you know what, lady over there who were rude, it doesn't matter who you are, be accountable for your actions. A lot of people act like bunch of lunatics. Not respecting people's boundaries, acting up like a bunch of spoiled brats. And at the end of the day, check yourself and see if I'm in the wrong. Should I go and apologize and make things right? Yes, you should. And it doesn't matter what you have done, because I have done some stupid things when I was younger. I have done things, like I give the example of the gentleman that I wanted 15 minutes later, I went back. I was finishing out my thing, went back and apologized to that person, recognizing I apologize. I did not want it to be dry cut with you, and I have so many things going on right now. Please forgive me for speaking to you in a short manners. Even though he went and whined later on because I knew he would do it, and that's fine. It was funny again that when the manager showed up and wanted to scold me after a week or two, oh, you did this, and I looked at her, she looked dumb. She looked stunned and dumb at that point because she didn't know what to do. And I'm like, no, you cannot pin this one on me, sister. I already took care of it. But if he did not told you that, then let's go have a conversation, the three of us, because I apologize. Again, accountability. Where is your accountability in your life, personal and professional? How many times have you been rude, inappropriate to people, and don't even care at the end of the day if you were in the wrong? And what happened to you later on? That I would love to know, because karma is something that, we always said, and I'm the first one to say that too, except when you're the recipient of these kind of things, because in my case, I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, basically, on this one. But so I'm not going to take it personally, because it's her monkey, her circus. She came angry, she came negative. That's on her, not on me. So that's one thing that people need to realize as well, is when situation happen this way, that somebody come across to you extremely rude for no active reason, unless you really provoke them and you like to do it. But you have to realize that those individuals gonna eat that dirt as well. I have often said your action will be reflected later on, meaning when somebody do this and they have a situation, they have not learned how to control their energy, because she sent a big energy ball in my face. This is what, it wasn't the action of being rude to me, is the energy she threw at my face that really cut me off guard. And I've seen it in the past when I was dealing with people where all of a sudden they will turn like a bunch of lunatics. That happened to me. Same place where that person, I just referenced that person I was talking to. I was in the lab at that time and I was doing my work. I was minding my own business. I wasn't asking for anything. And I saw that person coming with her energy. Oh, I got the dagger in my face. She snapped for no reason. And it happened and I was right there. And I'm like, holy crap. So I had a conversation with the manager later on and said, hey, by the way, she acted up on this way. I have no idea what's going on here, but I'm not the target here, and I should not be being spoken this way when I'm not interacting with this individual. But she was snappy again, this individual, and she went after me for no reason. But again, watch what you're doing, watch your energies, because you don't realize how much energy you can throw at somebody else's face. That's like a blast, not from the past, but a blast in your face. So I was reminded of this when that was just happening, like less than an hour ago. But it's very interesting to see the behavior of people. I am glad in one way, the way we grew up, because it wasn't funny the way we grew up. It was a very strict way. But at least our parents, even as harsh than we went when we grew up and life took us, put us accountable for our actions. Whatever we did, we were faced with the consequences, but also being put our nose in our own quote-unquote shit and, step it up to the plate. If you're in a wrong, at least have the courage to admit it and said, I am sorry for my behavior. But don't go into stores and blast people's up for nothing. Because I said I witnessed it quite often. I even had one rude individual. I was funny because she could not even. Oh my God, that was so funny. I was taking some shopping carts because I needed it for what I needed to do on those, on the floor. And I had one person who took one of mine. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm going to need it. And she got an attitude. And I looked at her with a big smile. And I said, sure, why don't you take it? That's just fine by me. Have a beautiful night. And she got pissed off because I was looking at her with a big smile. And she went and complained about it. And the manager came back and they said, what happened? I said, well, I got a lady that was rude and took one of my shopping carts. And I wish her a good night with a smile on her face. And it looks like she didn't like it. She didn't like the smile on my face. And I said, that's too bad. I said, well, she put in a complaint. Go for it. I said, there was nothing, mean about it. But I just decided to have that big smile on my face. I was happy Skippy where she was pissing off like they were no tomorrow. But it's like people. Don't target others because you want to relieve that negative energy. I think we need to learn, and you can go on YouTube. Okay. These days, there is no excuses at some level when people say, well, I don't know. Well, your behavior, your pattern needs to be looked at. Everybody's pattern, even mine patterns. I looked at it. I'm aware of my stuff. But others should be as well. Patterns can be changed. Again, you can go on YouTube and look at how can I release my energy if I'm not in a good mood. What ways do I have and I can work on so I can improve myself? It's not very complicated, isn't it? So it will be good when people do this to have that that good energy. Okay, and recognize I'm in a good mood today. It's fantastic. Life is good. I'm loving it. I'm in a freaking bad mood. Guess what? I let know the people around me. When I used to go to work and I was in corporate and I was sitting with you, whatever deal was, I was in the office. If I wasn't in a good mood, I say, hey guys, it's not a good day today. People knew. Don't come and bother me unless you need something, and we're just fine. But don't poke at the bear. So they knew. And you know what? They respect that. If somebody is not in a good mood or is not doing okay, that if they let you know, you don't need to go, oh, what happened to you? No, you don't. You just leave them alone. If I need something, I will let you know. Guess what? It makes it better work than go and snap at somebody because you're in a bad mood. So be aware of your actions and be freaking accountable for it. That's what I wanted to say today. Be freaking, and it's a Monday, be accountable for your actions, because we are not responsible for your actions. We're not responsible for you to be in your own shoes. We're not responsible for whatever coming your way. There is always a lesson learned. And that young lady, who is about my age actually, so not as young as it is, even if you're in a bad mood, you should have come and apologize like everybody else is. But that's your tenor. That's not mine. So I don't care at the end of the day, because the way you're behaving will not change. And when people do like gratitude, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm part of a group of wellness and they're acting differently, then you need to revisit your actions and how you behave with people. That's all. So it's just, I wanted to share that story because it really reminded me that, you know what, be accountable. If something good happened, celebrate. If something is not okay, then, even if I have heated conversation, sometimes you can pick up the phone and you talk to customer service and you feel frustrated. I always said when I get a little too excited, and that happened a couple of times, and I said, I'm not angry at you personally. It's not about you personally, so please don't take it personally, but it's the frustration of the situation that is not clearing right now, that we need a resolution. So I'm not yelling towards you. I'm raising my voice because it's frustrating. So there is a different approach when you're aware of the change of tone and conversation you have, that to acknowledge, by the way, my tone of voice is changing and I am not angry at you, because most people will latch at people who I'm just a customer rep, and wow, they get it in their face. I like to, when things escalate, to just say, you know what, I'm very frustrated. I'm extremely frustrated of the situation, blah, blah, blah. I have nothing against you, but we need to figure it out. So acknowledging it, being man, woman, or child enough to do it, it's a very good habit, because at least when things happened, being able to have the awareness and do the right thing at the end of the day. If I misspoke, like I said to the gentleman, that I was sharp, dry, borderline rude when I talked to him, because I was on the go and I did not have the time to sit down, because he liked to sit down. I don't have time for that, honey. You tell me what you need and I move on, because I'm in the middle of a tornado here. But taking the time to go back and say, I apologize for this. I wasn't, it wasn't, oh, yeah, we're good. And I'm like, yeah, you're not, because you're probably going to tell the manager, and the manager's going to be happy to try to go after me. And guess what? She got nothing at the end of the day. I stopped her in midair and she flopped, and she stopped because she could not nail me. And I'm like, sweetheart, I'm accountable for everything. And I said to her at the end too, I said, I'm accountable for everything I do, and I recognize and I apologize if I get a little dry cut, which I did with him. But it was funny that the fact that he never mentioned to her, oh, Emma came and apologized to me. Oh, you forgot to mention that. But people, do me a favor. Start to be accountable for your action and stop launching after people, and those daggers and the ball of energy blasting everybody else's needs to stop, because this is your freaking energy. And whatever is your problem, learn to direct that energy and transmute it. Again, you can go on YouTube, you can find enough videos for helping how to redirect that energy. And if it's too much, then go outside, put your hands around the tree and hug a tree, because the tree will take that energy. I know that sounds funny, but when we say, oh, like the hippies like to hug the trees, well, there is a reason, because they're transmuting that energy and pass it on to the tree that's going to go to the ground, and it's going to be grounding the energy, transmuting it, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. Be accountable for your actions, because I am accountable for mine. So this was our podcast for today. I know it's how do I feel right now? I'm good. We're going to continue with other topics for the rest of the week, but I needed to share that, because to me was a little bit appalling to see humans' behavior. And I found it more ironic, or it's kind of an oxymoron, when you got some mindfulness group and it comes from an individual that is part of a mindful group as well. And I'm not targeting people in general, but if you're part of a mindful group, at least be honest with yourself. Because I have a lot to say about people like that. And the same with the church people. This is the same thing all over again. The progress you make is to work on yourself. But at least get that awareness. Because if you're not even aware of your behavior, and you're not even correcting your behavior, and you're not even put yourself accountable, because being accountable is not talking to that person who organized it, that was a good thing. But be accountable is to talk to the individual that was the recipient. That puts you accountable. That will wash off the situation that you have created. Because again, karma will not look as the wash off because you went and talked to the organizer. The wash off is you're accountable for the action with this individual, and in order to wash it off so it doesn't come back and bite you in the rear end twice, you go back and apologize, or you do make quote unquote amends to that person, meaning you apologize and move on. That's a good lesson, isn't it? I like that. So, all my love, guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Emma's Universe Podcast. Universe Podcast.